red line. A little bit of drift here. We're driving the Cayman with all its quirks and features. Welcome to Driving with Jeffs, the poorest automotive channel on YouTube. I don't have enough room to do like a Hoovy thing. It's 91 degrees out and 1,000% humidity. This thing got the heart of a lion. It's hot as Hades out there. This temperature gauge in this specific car, this temperature gauge doesn't move. It is amazing how well this car deals with the heat. Cayman is a great vehicle. 2009, 2012 was the sweet spot for me. For a 13-year-old car, this vehicle is a fantastic driving machine. Try not to redline it. All right. So we're out and about in the Cayman today, this Sunday at 12:06, 91 degrees out, summertime in Florida. So this is a Base Cayman with 265 horsepower, 2009, in ruby red metallic. And I've got about 33,000 miles on this car. I bought it a couple years ago with 22, not quite 23,000. 30,000. Cayman just turned 30,000 miles. So far, it's been a phenomenal vehicle. Enjoyable. It's quick, extremely agile. Very sport bike-like, light. Really enjoyed this car. Of all the vehicles that I have, it gets driven a lot more than I would have ever expected it to. I originally bought this car and was just going to flip it. I'm going to slow down on Sunday driving. So I've really enjoyed this car so far. And I believe that too many people overlook the Base Cayman when they're out shopping for Caymans. I think they read all the hype, and everybody, myself included, like more horsepower. A Cayman is a great place to spend a few hours. I've yet to take it on a long road trip, 12, 13 hours of straight driving type thing, which I plan to do and probably get it up into the Carolinas and the mountains here in the next 6 to 8 months. This car is great at just cruising along. Could easily do a road trip in this thing. I don't find it uncomfortable in the least. I had been following the Caymans and what was going on out in the motor world, so I've seen pictures of them, but I hadn't seen one in the wild yet. I was working at a hospital where I actually drove my Viper. Back then I used to drive it everywhere. And so when I was leaving the parking garage, as I was getting ready to get in, this guard's red, it was, Cayman comes by, like I see it coming down the other side of the ramp. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's one of those Caymans. Man, that is a great looking car. And then as it came around the corner and pulled up, like was coming past me, it stops. And the windows were a little bit tinted, but I could tell there was a girl in there, a woman. And the window rolls down, and it is one of the most beautiful nurses at this hospital. And she's like, hey Jeff, how's it going? Blah, 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 and we struck up a conversation talking about cars, and I asked her about her car, and next thing you know, it started like 2 years of one of the best times of my life. I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better situation. I had everything going good in my personal life. Good job, good place to live, cars and motorcycles, so I had things going pretty well right then. And when she came along like that, with that car, sealed the deal. I mean, she was hot anyways. There was no doubt that but the car just sealed it. So that was my introduction into a Cayman. So I was driving hers quite a bit. And I always considered buying one because I always liked them. I love the looks of them. I mean, there is nothing that looks like this. And I'm going to say this, and a lot of people aren't going to agree with me, but currently, the current Cayman is a badass looking car. It is phenomenal looking. It's aggressive. It's a great car, and I want one. That being said, it looks too much like a 911. It's not distinctive enough. It doesn't have the extra shape that made the Cayman so distinctive. The hips, the look. It is a phenomenal looking car, and I want one, but yes, it does not look the same. It doesn't have that same attraction to me. As far as the driving in this car, it's everything you expect a Cayman to be. It's taut, it's quick to react, it doesn't feel overly heavy, but it's not too light. It's very sport bike like, where you can pick and choose your lines through a corner. Very forgiving, and this specific car has gotten me around corners faster than I ever thought possible in a car. Almost like it's Velcroed. Handling is crisp, it's taut, it's not too heavy, it's not too light. It turns in well. It's very predictable. It's so easy to just carve that corner in this thing. It's almost like you don't have to slow down. It's almost like it's telling you to go faster in the corner. But the handling in this car is sublime. I've gone through corners faster than I ever thought possible in a four-wheeled vehicle. This car, the looks of it are perfect. The shape of the 987.2 are perfect. To me, it was the perfect looking sports car. And I typically like convertibles or something I can have the top come off, but this specific vehicle has it down. The look is perfect. But it is a great place to spend a few hours blasting around your favorite roads. This car gets quick on those corners, so it's amazing how fast you can get going fast in this thing on a curvy section of road. It's amazing. I don't see what people's problem with the Base Cayman seems to be. Is the S model more powerful? Absolutely. Is it worth the extra money? Depends on what your goal is. When I purchased this vehicle, I was originally looking for an S model, but I had a set budget that I was going to spend. This was right before the whole COVID thing started. And I knew, I said, this is going to be a toy. It's going to be another weekend toy. I'm going to have allot this much money and see what I could find. And I looked and I looked and I looked. So I looked for a long time for an S model, and I test drove a lot of them. But I couldn't get a bargain down. I couldn't deal with anybody that had one that I really wanted. You know, somebody had a really nice car that was well taken care of and everything was perfect. They wanted more than I was willing to spend, and they didn't want to deal, and I don't blame them, because if I was going to sell this thing, it would be going for a good penny as well. Looking for a stoplight to stoplight racer, this is definitely not it. But if you're looking for just a nice car to drive, a fun, engaging car that has lightning quick responses, is superbly balanced. It'll cut a corner like a razor blade will cut a pile of coke on a rock star's table. I mean, this thing is like being on a razor blade. You could do some amazing things in corners in this car. So while I was there talking to the sales guy, And he's like, quite a few people have come in, but everybody's shied away because it's a base model and not an S model. So I took the thing for a drive, and I'm like, this thing feels just as good as some of the S models that I was driving. It looked great. The color was extremely different. I hadn't seen this color. I literally looked at probably 40 different cars, and this was the only one in this color that I saw. This car could easily be a daily driven car if somebody wanted to. You could easily drive this car daily, and it would be enjoyable. It's very taut. It's tight. It's very agile. It's light. So your favorite country roads, your favorite driving roads, this is a great car to have. I mean, it'll cruise effortlessly at 3,000 RPM and 60 miles an hour in fourth gear. Or it'll fly around at 6,000 RPM. It really depends on what you want to do with it. A Cayman is a great place to spend an afternoon, or a morning, or an evening for that fact. This specific car has got to have the smallest gas tank of any vehicle that I've driven, other than bikes. I mean, I'm gonna have to check to see what it actually is, but man, it is small because it goes through gas. It doesn't hold a lot of gas. Although I think when I checked the last week, I was getting like 22 miles a gallon. I mean, I'm not even down to half a tank. I've gone 113 miles, so it gets way better gas mileage than the Viper or the 392. So let's talk about something that I've noticed over a few years of owning this vehicle, and it could be specific to where I am in South Florida, because there's a lot of people from everywhere and a lot of idiots in South Florida. But this car attracts more tailgaters and more wannabe boy racers than any car I own or have ever owned. More than the Vipers, more than anything. And I don't know if it's specific to this area, to Florida, but it seems to attract all the idiots. Wow, it's hot today, and this car's temperature gauge just doesn't move. It's fun. Cayman's a great car, great vehicle. 2009 Base Cayman, 2.9 liter. Flat six. It's been a fantastic vehicle, surpassed my expectations of what this car was going to be all about. I bought this car with the intention of driving it for a while and then flipping it. Ends up that I really enjoy this car. This Base Cayman has far exceeded my expectations of what it was going to be about. I can't say enough good things about it. If you can find a good deal on a Base Cayman, take it. They're beautiful cars, fantastic to drive, plenty of power. The stoplight to stoplight isn't its forte, but on curvy roads and in the higher rev range, it's a great vehicle. Look at those lines. Look at the curves in the hips. The rear hips are so RT Viper like, just like an RT10. When you're sitting in there and you're looking in that rear view mirror, very similar. Fantastic shaped car, beautiful to look at, exemplary to drive. You couldn't ask for something better. Very happy with this car. Mechanically, it's been sound. This car is loads of fun. Great place to spend an afternoon. I'm sure on a really long road trip, this thing would be a blast. This is a great driver's car, it really is. It does exactly what you want it to do. It does what you want it to do, the way you want it to be done, when you tell it to do it. It's that simple. Definitely one of the more agile cars A Base Cayman is too often overlooked. Brakes in the car are good. Handling superb. I mean, this is a 13-year-old car now with 13-year-old technology, and it still handles this well compared to today's vehicles. I believe the Caymans are going to continue to hold their value and continue to climb. They don't make cars like this anymore. The same with the Viper. They just don't make cars like that anymore. I tend to love cars that are a little different. A Cayman, a Viper, a Jeep. You know, they have like niche vehicles where they're specific to something. I don't like to be bothered with the same old every day like that. That being said, I drove a bunch of company cars that were as company and boring as they could be, so can't complain about a free car. It's love bug season down here in South Florida. Scourge of the earth, very acidic. And when they splatter on your car, if you have a dark car, they leave a light stain, a white splatter. If you have a light car, they leave a dark splatter. And they're so acidic, they'll just eat away at your paint. You have to get them off fully and quickly. Driving this car can make a hero out of anybody. It's so easy to drive, so easy to manipulate. Even somebody with no driving skill at all could get in this car and drive fast. It's one of those vehicles that pushes you to do a little more. You never feel like you're going to overpower it. Here we are, back roads of Florida. Right now we're driving through an area called the Devil's Garden. Everything to the right of us, to the south of us is swamps, a couple farms here and there. Big Cypress, the Everglades, Alligator Alley or I-75, which heads east and west, is about, 30 miles to the south to our right. This is a road that most people would never see. And the Cayman doesn't seem to move past 175. I've never seen that gauge move. Even sitting in traffic after hammering on it, it just chugs right along. Doesn't seem to be bothered by it. It's pretty amazing, actually. I want to fly around, but it's Sunday and there's a lot of cops around. I would highly encourage anyone to buy a Cayman, to take a serious look at a Base Cayman. You'd be surprised at just how much fun you can have in a car like this. Thanks for watching. It's much appreciated. And please like, subscribe, share, and comment.